I know you heard me on the radio. Flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio. Flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K.
It's that time of year again, Miami Dolphins fans, where your ray of sunshine, or should I say your eternal objective realist, Larry K, is back in the fold to talk Miami Dolphins football with you. It's been quite an offseason. I said I would do the Monday shows consistently all offseason, but I fell off a little bit on that. Apologize for it. Tried to check in when I could when there was big news going on, especially that whole Tua controversy with Brian Flores. Guys, Flores is in the past. It's 3 years ago. I said that last year was a show me season, right? And they showed me last season. They showed me that they still struggled late in the season. They still struggled in the playoffs. They still were going to have trouble becoming a Super Bowl contender. So since that time, the Miami Dolphins swapped defensive coordinators. They shed some people, Christian Wilkins, some other guys that I think were decent assets to the team, but that are now no longer with us. No more Xavier Howard. These guys are now gone, and we move forward this year with a team that is similar in some respects on offense, but with a new defense. This franchise has been trying to now market us, on the fact that the new defensive coordinator is more in tune with the players. He's more innovative. He's more energetic. He has better relationships with the players. We heard similar things when Brian Flores left, and there is no doubt in my mind that Mike McDaniel communicates better with players than Brian Flores did. But does that translate to wins? Does that translate to playoff wins? Does that translate to Miami being an actual, Super Bowl contender? We will see, okay? I'm going to be with you for the duration of the season. I'm going to do my Monday shows live as often as I can, immediately following the games. I'm going to do post-game check-in reviews by cell phone on this channel. And, of course, our panel show with my boy Shake and G and Lucci and all those guys, it's coming back on Tuesdays live starting next week. So I want you to tune in. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, click the subscribe button. It's right here. Just click it. I hope you enjoyed the off-season content with Shake. And look, this Sunday we open as slight favorites against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The North Florida rival Jaguars visit Miami in South Florida. So we have a home opener and a season opener. Good old-fashioned Sunday at 1 o'clock. I love those type of games, man. The NFL's getting so crazy with all the streaming exclusives and different times and all these things that they're doing. I'm excited for a 1 o'clock opening game for the Miami Dolphins this week. We have a couple injuries, but before I even get to the injuries, let's just talk a little bit about the new looks we have. The offensive line, we go in last year where we had an offensive line that really made its mark early and was good. And I think they moved people around and they got off the ball well, and their run blocking and their pass blocking was great and made a big difference early in the season. As we went through the season, we got more dinged up. We had more injuries, and guys had to start filling in. The offensive line, while still not bad, was simply not as good as it had been earlier in the year. And you have a player like Isaiah Wynn, who they brought back, who is going to be out this week. And you got Robert Jones plugging in for him, respectable blocker, respectable guy. Aaron Brewer, who is questionable to start at center. Liam Eichenberg at right guard. Austin Jackson and Teron Armstead, man the two bookends there at tackle. Armstead, we know who he is. If he can stay healthy, he's one of the best tackles in the league. Can he stay healthy? He's not stayed healthy any season yet that we've had him. How long can he stay healthy? It remains to be, pretty much the biggest question here. Keon Smith is on injured reserve, so that nice little Swiss Army knife you had to fill in at tackle is not there anymore. Early in the year, Lester Cotton is available as a backup guard. But, you go from Hunt, you let him go, and you had Wynn starting. Now you have Jones and Eichenberg at guard. You have Brewer at center, who might have arguably already been somewhat of a downgrade. maybe even, but now he's questionable, and you have Andrew Meyer behind him. And I got to tell you, if I'm looking at this team from a rebuilt standpoint, I can't tell you. I mean, last year was a show me season, and last year I think I could be wrong. Maybe the key players on this team have gotten some, much needed experience. Maybe the head coach has gotten experience. Maybe, as a general unit and as an organization, this team has gotten that mettle and that grit needed to push forward and win more this year. As you've seen teams like the Chiefs do, even minus some of their biggest playmakers, have gone on and continued to win. And you've seen that with many football teams throughout the years. But I think on paper, at least, look, I'm the objective realist here. You don't tune into my channel for roses and sunshine. And if you do, I don't know why you are. I mean, I'm the realist here. And I got to be 100% honest. I'll call balls and strikes as they happen. And I'm a fan, and I'm rooting for a great season by Miami. Anything can happen. Guys can emerge who we didn't realize are great players and become great players. And, everything's there for the taking. Everybody starts with a clean slate, and we have every chance possible. The Bills lost Diggs. The Jets, have a bunch of question marks, although a very good roster on paper. I don't think the Pats are quite there yet, so we have as good a shot as anybody to contend here. But I think last year was our best team on paper, and I don't know that this year's team is better on paper. I'd say this year's team took a step back on paper. That doesn't mean the wins and losses will be worse, but on paper, I think it took a step back. I think that offensive line is significantly more weak than it was last year. I think with the injury to the center already to start the season, you hope he can go. Let's see what this offensive line can do, because I don't know that, from a depth standpoint and a starter standpoint, I don't think it's as strong. Robert Jones is start. I know Wynn will hopefully come back at some point. Then you got Jones as a backup, and I think that's pretty good. Eichenberg held his own towards the end of the season last year, but now he's a starter, and you had a guy like Hunt, and now you got him. I think that's a clear downgrade to an extent. Jalen Waddle listed as questionable. Odell Beckham Jr., all the fanfare because of Odell's name and how great Odell could be and the element he could add. Odell Beckham is out. He's got the injury. So it's going to be some time before we see Odell at all, which I don't think is necessarily surprising. I mean, I understand we didn't pay him too much, but, you let certain guys go, like Van Ginks, for instance. I think he maybe wanted to go home, but some guys you decide not to pay the extra bit, but then you get a guy like Odell, but he's injured already, and we'll see how that shakes out. But you're going in with Hill, Waddle, and Berrios. I think Jonnu Smith is going to be a good addition to the team. I think that adds an element that we might need. That could be really, really good. And then defense, you got so many new faces. You got Benito Jones at nose tackle. Seiler is now a starter, and going to be relied on a lot more to get that pass rush going up front. And not that I don't believe in him, but it's really a lot more on his shoulders now. Calais Campbell at the right defensive end. Jalen Phillips, you got to hand it to him. You got to applaud him. I mean, he came back quicker than anybody thinks he would. Listed as questionable for Sunday. He's ready to go. If he can gain even just a little bit of that spark and push from last year, he can be a force, but it remains to be seen. You don't expect him to be back at 100%. You don't expect him to be playing 100% of the snaps to start the season. So that's going to be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. David Long Jr. Reprises his role at the left inside linebacker. Jordan Brooks, I think that could be an upgrade. I'm excited about seeing Brooks and what he can do. You got Duke Riley still in the fold as backup to him. So I think that might be an area where I'm excited about. I think you lose guys in the front seven, right? You lose Van Ginkel. You lose and I'm not saying Van Ginkel was the best starter ever, but he was a great change of pace guy. He was a great playmaker. You lose him. You lose Wilkins, who I think was an emotional leader of the front seven and a guy who made plays and did his job in the front seven. And you lose some of these guys, and now you got to see if the front seven can continue to hold its own without these guys. And I think it's nice, though, that you got Jordan Brooks there at the linebacker to hopefully help out. Some other losses, though, in the offseason, as far as pass rush and outside linebacker that are really going to, I think, hurt us. Quentin Bell at strong linebacker. You got Kendall Fuller, and then you got Poyer, Holland, and Ramsey all listed as questionable for the upcoming game. Poyer, a Bills guy who now comes was impressive with the Bills, but how much does he have left in the tank? I think we got him on a 1-year deal. I mean, how does that work out? That can go great. That can go iffy, and that could go bad. I mean, we'll see. Already listed as questionable. Jalen Ramsey, obviously, an absolute beast there. You got Kader Kohu. Sanders returns as the place kicker. Jake Bailey returns as the punter. So, what's the outlook on the season? I didn't do a game-by-game prediction. I may well still do that. I might want to see how things go this week to kind of gauge what this team is going to look like before I give too many bold predictions one way or another. I'd kind of just like to call balls and strikes and just report on the team every week and kind of discuss what we've seen and what we could see and take your thoughts on it and just go from there. But I think on paper, this isn't as strong as a team as last year. I think it has more experience, and perhaps the Dolphins, the front office, the coaching staff, rearrange the deck chairs and rearrange the pieces on the board a bit, and they think the chemistry and the philosophies might work better with this group, and that's possible. Still have a heck of a lot of talent. You see Tua Tagovailoa got the bag. Is everybody celebrating he got the bag? Let's see what he does with that bag, right? I mean, everybody's so excited he got the bag. Hill gets his extension. Let's see now. Let's see them pay dividends, not just be out in fun in the sun in September and October, fun in the sun, throwing the ball all around. Then November, December comes around, and we'll get them next year, but we have a basketball hoop in here. This is a fun place to play football because you get paid a lot, there's no state income tax, and the coach lets us have fun. That's not good enough for the fans anymore. So I'm not calling this a show me season because last year was a show me season, and they showed me what they are. They're a team that struggles down the stretch and really isn't a playoff contender or a Super Bowl contender. This year, I'm not going to make any judgments at first, but I will say I think there's a lot of challenges, and on paper, I think last year might have been their best roster we're going to see for a while. So that doesn't mean that they're not going to be successful this year. I'm excited to see if they're successful this year. Certain new faces are either going to work or not work. Hill is a monster. He's one of the best receivers in the league, but he's getting up there in age, and you wonder at some point he's going to slow down. I hope that's not this year. I hope it's not next year, but it's going to eventually come. Tua Tagovailoa, here's the big questions. Does Hill put up the type of numbers he did last year? Does the team stay healthy? I think the two biggest questions going into this year, the three biggest, I'll say. Number one, how does this offensive line hold up? Because no matter what you say about the perimeter players and the quarterback, and everybody wants to get all excited, you got Tua, he's got a big fan base, and you got Hill, he's got a big fan base. Despite what you want to say about those perimeter players and the big names and the highlight reels, football still runs through the trenches, okay? Everything comes through the trenches. And this offensive line, it's either going to be good enough for this Dolphins team to do what we want it to do and to make its progress and to run smoothly, or this offensive line is not going to do that. And you're going to see, stunts, stops and stammers throughout the year when we face tougher defenses. So that's number one, the offensive line. Is it going to hold up throughout the year? Number two, Tua Tagovailoa. Great stats, September, October. Excellent, glitz and glamour, September, October. Nice stats. But can he, when the pedal's to the metal, can he, when we're down to brass tacks, can he actually overcome serious adversity late in the season, make plays himself, put the team on his shoulders, and win us football games? You got a bag that's elite. You got a name and fans that say you're elite. But you got to get the wins late in the season and the playoff wins and the championship rings and the division titles to say you're elite. And we haven't seen that yet. So that's big question number two. Now, this guy who got a bag, this guy who people claim are a top 5 quarterback, can he do that the entire year and not just September, October? And last year, and even the year before, September, October came along and I started singing to his praises because I'm going to keep it real and just report what I'm seeing, call balls and strikes. But I was fooled both times, and by the end of the year, down the stretch, he wasn't keeping it up. So I'm not going to fall for that this year. I'll report it. If he's playing good, I'm going to say he's playing good. I'm going to say he's playing lights out when he's playing lights out. But I'm not going to expect those big wins towards the end of the year until we get those big wins towards the end of the year. And that remains to be seen. And the big question number 3 is this new defense. You let a lot of guys go. You change defensive coordinators after you were chasing Fangio for so long. Now you let him go after 1 year because the players don't like him. Players are talking on Twitter. And this is one of those teams, right? This is a yappy team, the Miami Dolphins. They got no old school discipline. This team talks. All they want to do is talk. They're free to talk all the time. They don't like the coach. It was all last year. We don't like Fangio. Okay. Now he's gone. So now what does the new defensive coordinator do? What does this defense do without all these players that you jettisoned, that you let walk? What does it do now? You made some signings. Some of those guys are hurt. Some of those guys are out already. So what does this defense look like at all? I mean, it's such a new defense with so many new faces. What is this defense? Is this an elite defense? Is this a top half defense? Is this another porous defense like we saw early last year? I mean, what kind of defense is this? Because that's going to go a long way too. You can't win championships with just glitzy receivers and a quarterback who throws great passes in September and October. You win championships with defense, with offensive line, with defensive line, and with guys that buckle up and prioritize winning over everything when shit hits the fan. And until the Miami Dolphins show me that that's the type of team and franchise they are, I'll be waiting for it and just rooting for the Dolphins, but not expecting much. And look, I'm not here to throw a damper on your season expectations or to ruin your week. I'm just here to remind you that I'm still here, that Larry K and Phin-Addict Fury and all our content is live for the season. We will be coming to you. And just to give you my take on it, for those of you who are realists, maybe some of you are feeling the way I'm feeling, and you're not so sure. Either way, we're going to be along for this roller coaster ride, and I hope that the Dolphins go and win that Super Bowl we've been waiting for our entire lives for guys who are my age. But regardless, we will bleed aqua, and we will be there, and we are looking forward to a fun season of tailgates, games, conversations, guests, and all of those things. Any realist Dolphins content you want, come here to the Phin-Addict Fury channel with Larry K. We're going to have plenty of that content all season long. This is one of your stops. I know you got plenty of stops for content, and that's what makes content great. But stop here for a realist take, stop here for Larry K's take, and stop here for great content and conversation, and eloquent conversation at that. The Phin-Addict Fury channel with Larry K. Click subscribe. I'll wait a second for you to click subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Get ready for the season. I'll talk to you guys. Remember, we're live next Tuesday with the first episode of LG Shaking the Panel. We are live. So come join us and check it out. And if you want to get on the panel, we'll post the link. Talk to you guys then. Larry K. out.